In this video, sponsored by Lancaster Insurance, it's road trip time. First of all, there were some important developments yesterday, so let's get into those. So here we are, jumped back in time. Foxanne is now wearing her new tyres. They are 155/80 R12s. They were made just last year, checking the date code. They are much chunkier, much thicker sidewall. All should be good. The sat-nav is now, sorry, not the sat-nav, the speedometer is now actually under reading slightly, so I'm glad I've got the sat-nav to confirm what my speed is. I'd say she's probably 2 miles an hour under on the speedo, so I can't allow for speedo error in the way I normally would. I'll have to be a bit careful, but that's fine as long as I know. And I'm now doing an oil change because the oil that was in there was quite black, which is probably because she did a lot of running and not getting up to full temperature, so a lot of fairly rich running. Slightly annoyingly, the sump plug appears to be a 15mm and nothing imperial. That's quite weird, but yeah, she's getting plenty of X-Flow 20W50 because Cheap Charlie's, the local hardware store, sells this quite cheaply, so I've bought a few bottles. At some point I will be putting 2050 in Ellie as well. I don't use 2050 in the UK because that's too thick, really. Can cause cold starting problems once the temperatures plummet below 0, so I tend to run Ellie on 1040, but we'll be switching to 2050 because we are going to hotter climes. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. We now need to get Foxanne to Bromley. Started loading her up with the merchandise, so now we've done the oil change, got the tyres fitted, we're pretty much good to go. Still very cruddy in here, which I think is why the radiator is not performing as it should be. So I'm going to do a last minute drain and flush of the cooling system. Safe in the knowledge that George isn't here, so we can't drink the antifreeze. Right, so we've got to warm it up with some prep fluid. It's actually for Evan's waterless coolant, which I did try in the Nissan Bluebird, but didn't really get a chance to test one way or another because it blew a pipe and lost all the fluid. So on the question of Evan's waterless coolants, I'm afraid my answer is inconclusive. But I had some of the flush fluid left, and certainly the water looks, yeah, you can see all the crud it's starting to bring out, floating about in top of the water. Well, you probably can't see it, you might need a macro mode, but yeah, grotty it is. So we'll run her up to temperature and then we'll drop this magic fluid. But look, I managed to squirt some muck all over the windscreen. That is nasty, nasty gunk. But yeah, I think this step is very necessary. I didn't think I was going to have time, but it's Friday afternoon, we depart in the morning. I think this is worth doing. Dear me, all sorts of gunk in there now. This stuff is definitely working. You monkey soup. Oh yeah, that is nasty. Perhaps this will get us to the bottom of what's going on with the excessive temperature. Well, we've just driven up a really big hill, and that's where it was sitting as I was driving before, but that's only gone up since we stopped. Yeah, so we just come back down the other side. And yeah, that temperature seems much more reasonable. And like I say, it was slightly higher than that as we came up the hill, but no higher than that, whereas previously she was sitting just below hot. So I think we can consider that a job well done. Oh, and yeah, she's rather full at the moment. All the merchandise, this magazine rack I've got to give back to Kelsey Media. Yeah, it's not like we're travelling light. Right then, it's time to go and take Foxanne on her first big adventure. Right, clamber aboard. Look, I've vacuumed the seat slightly, it's fine. And yeah, we shall settle in, see if my new reinforced with a cable tie mount works. And as you can see, the back is very full. and I'm very glad of these head restraints given what's in the back. And we shall get underway. Right then, it is time to depart. All the levels have been checked. Going to take a good 5 or 6 hours, I would have thought. I don't think the estimate Waze is giving me at the moment is in any way going to reflect reality. Oh, and I've got the microphone down there. That was very poor planning on my part. Sorry about that. But yes, good 5 or 6 hours, I should think. 250 odd miles. It's going to be quite the adventure. So let's get the door shut, get underway. Noise alert. Not the only one out for a nice drive today. Absolutely beautiful. As you'll note, I'm not hooning about quite so much today. We've got a long way to go. So any hoofing I've done up to this point is purely trying to test that Foxanne is really as good to go as she needs to be. We've got a lot of weight on board, which is affecting the handling. It's definitely affecting the braking. So hopefully we'll sell a lot of stock this weekend and be a bit lighter for the journey home. Temperature gauge is creeping up again. That's back up to 2/3. So maybe my flush out wasn't actually the answer, although previously it has been nudging hot, so at least it isn't doing that. Well, we've made it to Crickhowell. The temperature gauge is still going worryingly high at times. It seems a bit cyclical. It goes up and then does come down, and it's up and down all the time. And I think perhaps as long as it doesn't actually reach H for hot, we'll say that's probably good enough. Fortunately, we've got a good section of dual carriageway before we reach the motorway, so I can do some high-speed running and give it a good test. Because yeah, at the moment it's slightly worrying. But yeah, this is Crickhowell. This is a major A road, believe it or not. It is very tight and twisty through Crickhowell, lovely little town. But yeah, little is definitely the main word here. Ooh, I see a Polo bread van down there. Shame we're not going down there, really. Oh gosh, it is busy today. See, the Fox could get through that gap past that bus, but yeah, no chance in your big fat Audi. That's not even the fattest. They do them fatter than that. Go on. What are you waiting for? Oh, and then you got pedestrians just running across the road. That's always good fun. Oh, he is actually indicating. And parking under the lines, excellent. Oh, people. Oh well, the scenery is going to change vastly today. We go to Abergavenny next, and then stretch the dual carriageway. We'll see how she handles that. But, oh yeah, national speed limit. I hope you can hear me, but I've got my earplugs in, so I might not be speaking loudly enough. Yeah, we're doing an indicated 60 at the moment, which is about 62, 63 miles an hour. Temperature gauge is hovering up at the 2/3, but seems to be staying there. pretty good, because we need to do this for about 4 hours. Glad I got my earplugs. That's the end of dual carriageway. We are one roundabout away from the M4 motorway. Temperature is still riding high. Quite tempted to take the hood off, as they would say in America, but scared I'll get in trouble. But we'll have a stop once we've got into England, and we'll have a bit of a review of the situation, check the fluid levels. Hope all is well, but for now, here we are accelerating onto the M4. I say accelerating. Oh no, she's definitely picking up speed. At least we don't have to merge on this one, so it's a nice easy slip road. There we go, 134 miles to London, and we've still got to get to the other side of London. So still a fair way to go. We've covered 82 miles so far, and yeah, promises to be a long day. Because we're going around the M25, our mileage total will be higher than what you've just calculated. The M25 is not the direct route. We'll drive around London as far away from it as we can. Well, that's not helpful. The second Severn crossing is closed, and I guess that's funneling everything onto the one remaining crossing. So now we are crawling along, and the temperature is crawling up. Put the heater fan on for all the good it'll do me. A bit like trying to put out a house fire with a pipette. Well, this is starting to get ridiculous. The left-hand lane is clearing because that's going off the motorway. Well, it's going on to a different motorway. That's the one that takes you down to Devon. But yeah, this is just beyond a joke. Oh, well, we finally made it to England. Not before time. Will things improve? Place bets now. So London's still 120 miles away. That's taken about half an hour to get through that section of a few miles. Welcome to the British motorway network. Oh, well, thank goodness for that. We're through it. Problems on the M5, which is backing up onto everything, and the M32 into Bristol's also backed up. Everything is backed up. Britain's motorway network needs more fibre. Right, I need to stop. My bladder is getting range anxiety. Well, we're 108 miles into the journey now. Temperature gauge is still entirely alarming. Resting just below hot. Only 7 miles to the services, and then you can have a proper cool down. The blind spots on this car are terrifying. I've already managed to lose a Dacia Duster in the blind spot. He gave me a toot because he got no appreciation of my blind spots, but he moved 2 lanes across into a lane I was moving into, and I had no chance of seeing him. It's just not possible. Oh, there we go. Oh, I don't really like turning an engine off when it's that hot, but I think I will go and remove the bonnet. Bear with me. I don't think it's as hot as the gauge was saying. I can't see any steam or anything like that, so I'm going to say that's good. Right, I'm going to go and stretch my legs. God, the services are just as bad as the motorway. Dawdly idiots everywhere just standing around and getting in the way. Ugh. There are times I severely dislike this country. Right, I have my M&S sandwich. All is good. Right, I'm suitably refreshed, but I've just checked the oil and not a fat lot on there, just that blob at the bottom of the dipstick. So I'm not sure what she's done with all that. Better throw some more in, I guess. And yeah, we're not quite safe enough to take that off yet. Right, coolant level is alright, but if we have a peek under here, it's all mucky again. All sorts of crap still floating around in that cooling system, which can't be helping performance. So I think new radiator when we get back, and another good flush of the cooling system, all the passages. But yeah, the oil loss is a bit of a concern. Can't see any puddles, so she must be burning it. So we'll just have to see how that goes, I think. Time to get the bonnet back on. Right, still 117 miles to go, but we have oil again. Coolant is okay-ish. Foxanne is ready to go. So still probably another couple of hours of driving at the very least. Reversing is fun because I can't see what's going on behind. There we go, nothing went bang. That's always encouraging. I must admit, I'm slightly worried about the head gasket at this point. We're clearly not losing coolant through the head gasket. But if all the oil's vanishing without a trace, and there's oily deposits in the coolant, yeah, that can't be good. So either there's so much sludge in the rad that I failed to clear it out yesterday, and there's just still more floating around, and the oil's vanished all on its own, or yeah, there's something suspect on the head gasket front. Not a lot I can do really other than keep pushing on. Temperature gauge is nice and high again, not quite touching H, so we'll say that's good enough. We're cruising at about 60, generally speaking. So yeah, I can't really do an awful lot other than just keep going and see if it develops. It's not great. I've just had to stop and refuel again. Oh, that's really coming off. What's going on here? Why is my centre console trying to escape? There we go. Yeah, I've filled up again, just because, well, I kind of had to really. I think I've done about 150 miles on 15 litres of fuel, which is about 45 mpg, which I suppose isn't bad. I was kind of hoping she'd do 50s, but I've been thrashing the knackers off her. But yeah, all the oil's vanished again, just touching the bottom of the dipstick. So I've put in all I have, which means we've used, getting on for 2 litres since we left home, and it's not even at the top yet. I mean, we're on a slight slope here, so it won't be reading all that accurately, but worrying times, I would say. Worrying times. Yeah, so we're in Bracknell at the moment. I don't know much about Bracknell. Apparently Royal Ascot seems to happen here. I don't know much about Royal Ascot either, other than that they still seem to think it's appropriate to have a day where women wear hats. That's the entirety of my knowledge of the Royal Ascot. I think this year was slightly livened up. I'm pretty sure I saw a story that a Royal Entourage took out some poor old lady who was going for a drive, so that was a bit different. But yeah, this is a bit that cuts the corner off the M4 and M25 because it gets quite nasty up near Heathrow, does the M4, and it's a horrible, horrible junction to get onto the M25. So this is both shorter and more pleasant, and gives you an opportunity to fill up with cheap petrol, like what I just did. Cheaper than motorways anyway. But yeah, even with the tank full, it's only registering just over half a tank. So perhaps my gauges are just rubbish. It's nice to have the temperature looking more normal at the moment anyway. Wow, did you see that? There's a bluebird, that was amazing. Hopefully the video managed to capture that. We're on some quieter roads now because Waze has identified an accident on the M25. So it's very wisely decided to avoid the M25, which is good because these slower roads keep the temperature down a bit. I'm a bit annoyed with myself because I really should not have just chucked that radiator in without giving it a darn good flushing. So it could just be residual crud. I'm still clinging on to that dream, but the oil loss is worrisome. I don't think there were quite 2 litres left in the can, but that can is now empty. That's a lot of oil to lose. And no sign of where it's going either. It's not like she's leaving an oil stain beneath. There's not even a drip, let alone a slick. So where is the oil going? I don't think she's burning yet. No clouds of blue smoke out of the back. Oh, less flipping the throttle, more slowing down. As we reach another town. I wonder what this one's called. Chobham. Oh yeah. At least we get to do a bit of sightseeing now. I'll move that disgusting sun visor out of your way. Oh wow. Some right folksiness going on there. Look at that. Cannon Cottage. Lovely. I wonder if all this backing up is because people are also trying to avoid the M25. But look, we've got a Vauxhall Ampera in front of us. One of the more interesting hybrids, more a range extender. So a bit more focus on being an electric car and less on being a petrol car. It's my problem with most hybrids. Most hybrids are the other way. They're petrol cars with enough electric car gubbins to qualify for cheaper company car tax and road tax, etc., which to me feels like cheating. Well, apparently we couldn't avoid the M25 completely, but we've cut out a good chunk of it. All still going a bit slow. Report of obstruction, says the sign. Now we've got 20 miles of M25. Let's see how long this takes. It's currently 3:15. Reckons it's going to take an hour to do 34 miles. Welcome to the south of England. Well, we're off the motorway, all done with that. We're on the A23 heading into Croydon, and yeah, glorious times. This traffic was a lot more fun in Tuck, and being air cooled, I didn't have any overheating worries with Tuck. In fact, I'm still astonished how Tuck the Invercar coped. We're driving straight through the middle of London. It was nary a splutter. I was very impressed. Now that's a roadside spot I don't think I'm ever going to top. Fantastic little Suzuki 4x4. Amazing. I'm not going to say where. Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on, so that was a bit unprofessional of me, all a bit windswept with the Suzuki Spot. It caught me off guard. I'm just going for a walk because frankly I think I've done enough driving today. The Airbnb hosts are lovely, but the milk had gone off and their only alternative was powdered milk. No, you can't make tea with powdered milk. That's insanity. So I'm going for a walk, see if I can find a cafe. Might grab some dinner while I'm out. It's a surprisingly peaceful little corner. This Greater London even can be very leafy and surprisingly peaceful. I'm going to find some food, have a nice rest, and then the fun starts early tomorrow morning. At least we haven't got very far to go to be at the show. Not very far at all even, because I think the park's just over there. But have a bit of an explore, see what's what. At least I found a nice little quiet spot here in Greater London for Foxanne to sit. Might just be able to hear the parakeets in the background. They escaped into the wild. There's a few of them about. Right, rest. Well, here we go then. It's 25 to 7 in the morning, a time that frankly shouldn't exist. Foxanne is here and we're going to fill this area, which is quite huge, with some of my favourite hubnut cars, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm meant to have a tent to put the merchandise in, so I need to go and find that first of all. But the main thing is I'm in, and no one else is going to be allowed in for another 25 minutes, so I've got a bit of time to play with. So yeah, they've put Capris and Anglias next to me. They're obviously spoiling for a fight. Because naturally I hate Fords apparently, though only Ford people seem to think this. So yeah, interesting times. Well, that's us done here at the Bromley Pageant of Motoring. Some fantastic sights like that old Scammell lorry, which will be in the full event report. For now I'm staying locally tonight, and then the drive back begins tomorrow. That's going to be very interesting. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, tonight I'm going to go and have dinner with friends, chill out a bit, and then hopefully get some sleep. Let's try and work out how to get out of here. Chased by an awfully big Volvo. I've just pulled over because I was doing 55 miles an hour and the temperature gauge was like fully in the hot. And there's just no sign of overheating. If it was overheating, I would expect steam or bubbling sounds in the radiator. And now I'm sitting here ticking over, the temperature gauge is bang in the middle. So I think the gauge is not trustworthy. I do think she's still got a serious thirst for oil though, so it doesn't mean we're out of the woods. Anyway, I'm off to meet friends for dinner, so enough of this. Well, that was a blooming lovely Airbnb last night, which made up for the night before, which was awful. I'm going to do a quick fluid check on Foxanne, load my stuff in, and we'll be away back to Wales. We'll see how she does. I've just got to keep driving until she either doesn't drive anymore or gets me home. If I see any serious signs of overheating, I will stop, but if she just keeps going, we will keep going. Peek at the oil. Yeah, so she could do with a splash before we get underway. And as for the coolant, yeah, it's just Mayo City in there. Oh well, the inside of the radiator is unlikely to corrode. Thanks to my friend Bob, who bought me some oil to the show yesterday. He asked if I needed anything on his way to the show, and yes I did, because I could not find a retailer selling anything as simple as engine oil, which is a bit frustrating at a classic car show. Nonetheless, we have some now, so I shall top it up and then we shall head off, and we'll see how long this lasts, because it is all still vanishing and she's still not leaving any suspicious puddles of oil on the ground. So I can't believe all the oil is going in the radiator, so she must be burning some of it. We'll have a look when she fires up. Because 2050 is such a thick oil, you kind of have to wait for interesting noise, the oil level to go back up on the sump. It takes a while to work its way down to the bottom of the engine, so you get a good reading on the dipstick. So just waiting for that to happen. But yeah, I fear the head gasket has failed somewhere where the oil and water galleries get quite close. Unfortunately, it seems to have failed in the way that the oil is getting into the water. That is far preferable to it going the other way. You start getting water in the oil, then A, you're watering the oil down, and B, it creates just huge mayo. It makes such a mess. If you would like to see what sort of a mess it makes, go and look at my Nissan Bluebird video. I'll try and put a link in if I can. Yeah, it makes a horrible gloopy mess. It is really not very good for the internal of the engine because you've got very watery oil. I'm being carefully guarded by this cat who tried to tell me that she was allowed in the house. The owner told me she's not allowed in the house. But that's cats for you. Ooh, I hope I haven't just completely overfilled that. That's going to need a wipe. Apologies for the lack of a microphone at this point. I've misplaced it. Apologise also for my knobbly knees. I can't help it. That's the shape they are. Set the choke, make sure she's in neutral, stick the bag down a bit more securely. All important pre-flight checks. Go. I mean, there's just not clouds of blue smoke out of this very tuneful exhaust, so quite what's going on I don't know really. Okay, maybe there's a bit. It could just be smoke because she's on choke. Yeah, I'm not going to rev her any more than that. It's a cold engine, not very friendly. Let's set off back home. Oh, watch out, pigeon. Fox almost got a pigeon. This can only be described as very much a sat-nav special. We are a few minutes from where I stayed last night, and for some reason Waze has decided this is a nice main route, a single track road. I mean, to be fair, Kent is kind of full of roads like this. Was it a Vivaro to stop for us? I suppose keeping the speed down makes it less likely that Foxhound's going to overheat, so there is that to consider. The iClever jump pack is having a very busy day charging 2 mobile phones at the moment, and I've forgotten to put my microphone on again. Oh dear. I am the Mr. Fail. But yes, I was just saying, sat-nav special. This road appears to be one. So here we are, enjoying a scenic moment in Kent. So we've just come down this tiny single track road, which is very typical of Kent, and now we're travelling over the M25, which is one of the busiest motorways in the world, really. Nice bit of colour in the sky. Had a few people hooting who may have seen the Hubnut logo, so that's good. But yeah, here we are. Where to go? Another bib going on. Good times. Yeah, we're about to get on that motorway, and we'll do some motorway driving to get back to Wales. But I better get back in before the battery goes flat. I think the thing to do, if you've got a car where you suspect the head gasket is failing and the temperature gauge is overheating, the thing to do is probably to drive it in the fast lane of the M25 motorway. Well, it is if you're Hubnut anyway. Yeah, well, that'll teach me a lesson, won't it? Don't expect the M25 to be plain sailing. Every time I kind of think it'll be alright this time, and every time it never fails to disappoint. Well, we're just coming past Heathrow at the moment, which is where I'll be flying from in October. Destination New Zealand. That's still quite scary. But we've just been doing, I mean, at the moment we're doing 62. I've just been doing 66, 67 miles an hour according to the sat nav, not the speedometer. Speedometer records are only doing 60. And it strikes me that this engine is so sweet. It sounds so happy to rev. Unlike, say, an 845cc Renault 4-cylinder engine, I had a Renault 5 with one of those engines, and trying to do 60 in it, it felt like it was about to explode into pieces. This just spins so well. And it's Reliant's own engine, but it was kind of forced to develop. It was using a modified version of the old Austin 7 side valve engine, but they developed their own all-alloy overhead valve engine because they needed a rival. Well, they didn't need a rival, they needed a very lightweight engine because Reliance had to be lightweight so the freewheelers could be driven by people with a motorbike license. And what a job they did. Said to be some sort of Indian copy, I think, of a standard engine. Yeah, it's definitely a good little engine. Better than the original, maybe. That would be the standard Triumph 4-cylinder engine used in the Herald and other such cars. Temperature gauge is still hovering below hot. I have actually got the heater fan running at the moment, just to take the edge off. Oh, Fox is about to be overtaken by a big cat. Fair play, sir, fair play. Well, we're currently bombing along the M40, slightly different route on the way back. Slightly longer but more motorway, so it should be a better average speed. We might have a stop at Banbury for a break. It's about another 30 miles on, I think, because I know there's a petrol station with a shop, which means I can avoid motorway prices. Seems to be doing many more miles on this tank than the first one, so let's hope the gauge isn't lying, eh? Blimey, here's a car with a number plate worth vastly more than the car. An Audi 90 with the number plate, oh yeah, I see, it's C4 FFA. I thought it was actually Gaffer, but no. There's a misplaced dot to make it look like Gaffer, even though it says Caffer. Also a truck going very quickly backwards. There you go, Reliant Fox. Faster than a truck going backwards. So we're now on the M42. We're driving around Birmingham. The M5, M42 and M6 sort of encircle Birmingham in much the same way as the M25 does London. Only the M6 gets much closer to the middle of Birmingham, none of which you really needed to know. We're still going well, we're still cruising at 62, 65, there or thereabouts. Temperature gauge is still in a scary place, but again, when I stopped, no sign of overheating, no bubbling sounds, no water being forced out the expansion tank. Not that there is an expansion tank, but there is an overflow on the radiator. The level is staying absolutely consistent. So yeah, I've still no idea where the oil's going, because since the previous fill at Bracknell, we covered 187 miles and used 2 litres of oil, which is not good. You should not have to top up the oil every time you stop. Oh, it's just dropped down, do it again. 70 miles an hour. the A5 approaching Shrewsbury. All is good. Well, that was a very lovely and very decadent cup of tea and slice of Victoria sponge. And oh, go quick, Gaff. And about another litre of oil as well. So it's still about 65 miles to go, I think, until I'm home. But yeah, the Welsh border is getting closer. Oh, there we go. I see the sign, Croeso a Gymru. Welcome to Wales. It is always so nice to come back to Wales. Foxanne must like it as well. The temperature gauge has dropped. It's getting seriously muggy here, so I've actually gone all roadkill. I've finally taken the hood off, or removed one's bonnet, and we'll see if that makes any difference to the running temperature, because it's really muggy, very close, and I fear thunderstorms are likely. Do I fear? No, I enjoy thunderstorms. Nonetheless, let's carry on. The temperature gauge is definitely lower. We've also just passed a police car. No, cancel that. She's back up where she was. It's made no difference at all. I think my conclusion from driving with bonnet off is that it doesn't work very well at lower speeds, but once you're really getting a hammer on, she's definitely running cooler, which leads to the slightly terrifying conclusion that all day she's been, well, all trip, she's been running far too hot. Nonetheless, she's done it, which perhaps proves that these little Reliant engines are very hardy. Thank you, Foxanne, for not exploding. We're almost home. Quite cloudy here, still quite muggy, I think. I've been having to think about this overheating, and I'm starting to think one experiment I should have done was remove the thermostat. Now I was a bit reluctant to do that because you're quite seriously affecting how the flow works if you take the stat out. Because even when open, a thermostat is a restriction, so it's creating back pressure effectively in the system. And it does seem a bit wrong to just take it out. But nonetheless, I wish I'd tried that, and I might yet try that to see what difference it makes. Because I just stopped for a photo, and the radiator was very cold. Yet the temperature gauge was still comfortably over middle. Doesn't strike me as right. Oh. Well, there we go. That was rather a lot of miles in a Reliant Fox that had not seen the road for several years. It's been quite the experience. I'll be glad to have a sit down and a cup of tea and not have to do too many more miles in this one though, but I generally feel like that after any journey because all my cars are tiny. Excuse the steam train chuffing away in the background, as it so often does. There it goes, having had a drink. So yeah, there's not a lot else for me to say really. She made it, not without issue. We've clearly got some cooling issues going on. I don't know how we're going to get to the bottom of that yet. But yeah, she was very, very well received at the show. And before I go, don't forget, new products available at the store, these fantastic little I Love Tuk stickers. They're now available, and we've got Foxanne t-shirts and mugs just in time for this adventure. So again, excellent work by my friend Graham Jones, and he designed these before I painted it, but it's all right because it doesn't matter what the colour is. So yeah, I'm going to unpack this lot. I might actually put the bonnet back on, and we should call this adventure complete. So thank you to everyone who came to say hello. Thanks to everyone who's given supportive comments. I must give very special thanks to Adam Turpin of the Reliant Owners Club for just constantly being there when I've had queries, and he's been badgered all times of the day and night with me asking questions, going, how does this work? And especially there's a lot of bodgery on this car, which is not how it should be. Not necessarily my bodgery, it was bodged before I got it. Very grateful to Mark Godsall of the Reliant Owners Club, because he gave me that engine, and while we've clearly got some cooling issues going on, he's responsible for providing the engine that got me and Foxanne to Bromley. So thank you very much, Mark. I must also say thank you to Mike. I'm not saying any more, Mike, but you know who you are. Supplied a load of tools recently, so when I did the gearbox and differential drain and refill on Foxanne, that was using tools he supplied. Just remarkable generosity, thank you. And thank you to all those people in New Zealand and Australia who've been in touch to offer accommodation or just information or the cars for videos. It's going to be beyond exciting. But yeah, there we go. We're all done, we're all home, it's all good. And now I can crack on with preparing for the next adventure, because in under 2 weeks, Ellie is on her way to Croatia via the Netherlands and Normandy. I think I'd better do a lot of sleeping before that. All good times here at Hubnut. So yeah, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. Don't forget you can buy all the merchandise by going to hubnut.org. There's a link to our shop. And thankfully we haven't sold all of it, so there is still some left. And yeah, I shall say, I shall see you in another video. Farewell. Footnote, maybe she is burning oil more than I thought. Because that is definitely, that's burning oil. Oh well, I think we got to the bottom of it. Where are we? Ooh, no.